Hey guys, what's up, it's iFlynn here, and today we're going to be learning how to play Valkyr in Warframe. So first and foremost, Valkyr is basically a melee tank and spank frame. You can completely disregard having to look at your health because her base armor and base health pool are so high that it doesn't really matter what level of enemies are shooting at you, implying you're building right. They're basically going to deal very, very small amounts of damage, and because of Valkyr's abilities, then you're going to be able to either A, get out of there, B, kill the enemy super fast, or C, get your health back in no time, that it doesn't really matter that much. So that all makes her like my favorite melee frame to play. I stack either 2 times Arcane Strike or Arcane Grace and Guardian on this girl, and I basically become unkillable, or I just murder everything, and it makes her basically a treat to play, right? So all of Valkyr's abilities are more or less self-explanatory. Her first ability, Ripline, basically just allows you to kind of like, you know, traverse the map a lot easier, and it lets you close the gap with you and whichever enemy you're looking to melee, right? Which is very, very important because of how I mod out her second ability, Warcry. So Warcry, if we go ahead, dash over, get a little bit more energy. Warcry, you basically let out a big old roar, right? And any enemy caught within the power range of that roar is going to be slowed down by, I think, let's go ahead and double check the stat, but I think it might be 75% off the top of my head. Probably wrong about that. It is 75%. Awesome. So I was right. So they get slowed down by 75%. And your armor gets increased, and so does your melee attack speed, right? So it's important to note that you shouldn't really be getting your melee attack speed too high with Valkyr, because you get to a point where it kind of cancels out animations because you can't keep up with how fast you have to spam E, which kind of sucks. So that might be a reason against maybe having a lot of power strength on this build or using 2 times Arcane Strike. Entirely down to you. But more or less, use this to up your DPS off your melee and turn them into absolutely insane DPS, because melee is like top tier in the game right now. Like it turns every single enemy that you come across into a joke, pretty much, implying you have your combo counter up and implying you're building it in the correct way using blood rush and drifting contact or body count, the right elements, etc. Then enemies basically just get obliterated in no time. So with this ability, I'm using an augment called Eternal War. And basically what that augment allows is for me to extend the duration of my Warcry, right? So while active, Warcry's duration is increased by 2 seconds per each melee kill. And this actually has a point where it caps out, right? So depending on how high your duration is on your build will determine how much duration you can kind of have stored up, right? So with this build specifically, I can store up to 26 seconds on my Warcry, and then I have to keep on getting kills to kind of keep myself at that 26-second mark. But you can stay in Warcry, implying you're killing enough. You can stay in Warcry indefinitely, which is awesome. But let's go ahead and talk about the third ability. So third ability, Paralysis, basically opens enemies up to finisher attacks, which, I mean, it's alright if you want to kill like a Nox or something, but it's not something that I use a lot. It's also important to note that your first ability, Ripline, if you manage to like fling an enemy into a wall, you know, they're going to be knocked down. So if you fling an enemy into a wall, which is going to stop them from ragdolling back, I'll show you what I mean. So let's go ahead and spawn in heavy gunners. So if we grab this guy here with our Ripline, you see that it flings him away, like really, really far away. But while he's down on the ground, we can actually, you know, do a finisher attack like that. So there's the one finisher attack, and here's Paralysis finisher attack, right? So depending on which one you want to use, you know, it's entirely up to you. But one is kind of a cheaper single target option, where Paralysis is kind of more widespread, you know, just kind of hit every single enemy at once. Although the window is kind of small with the finishers, the one and the free on enemies are just, you know, abilities that I don't personally use. But yeah, so now that we have a bunch of enemies spawned in, I guess it's a good idea to go ahead and show you guys Hysteria. So Hysteria is going to put you into Valkyr's own unique stance, right? And I'll show you what I mean. So we go into her own unique sort of like exalted mode, and then we have her Talons equipped, right? These little claws right here, and we have our own different kind of combo thing. So if we do a side attack, you can see that we do this kind of undercut sweep type ability, which is awesome. And then if we do a jump, we have like this little cool Sonic looking roll, which is awesome. And then obviously her own kind of just stance overall, which is really, really cool. While you're in that, you're completely invincible, right? You're not going to take any damage, and any damage that you do with her talons is going to come back to you in the form of health, which allows you to build your melee weapons more catered towards damage. You don't have to mod for healing return, you don't have to mod for life strike, because you can get your health back with Hysteria. Although be it that it is very, very energy hungry. So if you wanted to build for Hysteria specifically, you would need Streamline, Fleeting, and Prime Continuity on there to basically make it so that it's not going to drain super fast, because the longer that you're in Hysteria, the faster your energy is going to drain. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and stand in Hysteria for a while. What you'll notice down in the bottom right hand corner there is this percentage starts to build up, and the higher that percentage is, the faster your energy is going to start to drain. So whenever that gets to 100 and we get off this like a little energy fountain thing, I'll just go ahead and stand off it now. You can see that our energy drains pretty fast as it is, just being at 50%. But whenever you get to 100%, implying you're able to stay in Hysteria that long, let's say for example you have an Evitrin, your energy is going to go down extremely quickly. But that is just with my build. Like I said, if you want to build more towards Hysteria, go ahead, use Streamline, Fleeting Expertise, and Prime Continuity, and you'll be able to stay in this a lot more effectively. So look how fast my energy goes down. You know, insane. So you want to have a high base energy pool, so having Prime Flow on there would be nice as well. Streamline, Fleeting, Prime Continuity, must-haves, and then, you know, you can do whatever else with the build that you want to. I would recommend Power Strength on top of that. Pair that with Warcry and Eternal War, and then you have a really devastating build there. But I build more towards just Warcry and keeping that buff up, and then I use Hysteria to kind of complement that playstyle by allowing me to mod for more damaging melee weapons, and then just using Hysteria to get my health back if I need it. Now, I don't necessarily need it because of how tanky Valkyr actually is with the Umbral build that I built for her. I have Umbral Fiber, Umbral Intensify, and Umbral Vitality, so all of these free mods buff one another up. So you'll see Umbral Fiber gives 192.5% armor increase, Umbral Intensify gives 66% ability strength, and then Umbral Vitality gives 770% extra health, so that takes my health over 1000 and my armor over 2000, which is absolutely insane. I throw Blind Rage on there to complement the Umbral Intensify and the Augur Secrets that I have equipped to buff up that attack speed buff, the armor buff, and also the slow debuff on my Warcry. Streamline on here so I can cast my abilities. You know, I just have a little bit more efficiency to counteract the minus efficiency on Blind Rage, although to you that may not seem worth it. It's kind of down to you what you want to throw on there. Eternal War to extend the duration of my Warcry, and an adaptation so then whenever I do take damage to my health, then, you know, I'm more resistant to it. So whenever enemies are shooting at me, they are basically tickling me, right? So that gives me the time or the leeway to jump into Hysteria whenever I need to, just so I can react a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, faster, I guess, react accordingly. There we go, that's a better word. React accordingly, so I only have to jump into Hysteria whenever I do actually get towards low health, because this mod just makes it so that the enemies, like I said, tickle you, so even high-level enemies. But you could replace this for Gladiator Resolve to have more health. You get 200 more health by having that on, and then that would allow you to throw on a max rank Augur Secrets. But I personally think that having that extra tankiness is a little bit more beneficial. On top of that fact, you could swap out this 2x Arcane Grace or 2x Arcane Strike for Arcane Grace and Arcane Guardian to make yourself a little bit more tanky. It's important to note with the Warcry buff, because mine's is so strong, that if you're using Berserker plus Arcane Strike, you can get to the point with your melee where the animation is far too fast, right? And that would make it so that your combo would kind of stop. The best thing I can use to kind of demonstrate that would probably be the Nakana Prime. So if we go ahead and we use Blind Justice, right? You'll notice that in the blocking combo, if we can get out of here, the blocking combo, and we spawn in level 160s, 160, and we pause the AI. If we bring it out, we hit our Warcry, we block, and we build up that Berserker. You see that I'm spamming E, you can probably maybe hear it, but I'm only getting off the first strike, right? So it's because our attack speed is far too fast. It's kind of counterproductive. We can use other combos, of course, so I could use my regular E, but sometimes, of course, that would also mess up as well. Depending on how fast your attack speed is, depending on the buffs that you have on. That was actually my blocking combo still going off. I don't know why, but here's the regular E. So that still works, but the blocking combo and other combos may not work. So that's very, very important to note if you're thinking I'm, you know, playing Valkyr. It's not necessarily worth it to build as much power strength for attack speed as possible, so that's why I may recommend swapping off one of the Arcane Strikes for Arcane Grace, or both of them for Arcane Grace and Arcane Guardian, just for more tankiness, so that you can be a little bit more carefree with how you manage your not only Hysteria usage, but also just your health in general, and whether or not you want to go ahead and mod your melee weapon for, what's it called, a little bit extra damage or whatever. So this is the melee weapon build that I use on most melee weapons that are, viable for Blood Rush body count or Blood Rush drifting contact, and then also Condition Overload, right? So they have a decent enough status chance, even though this only has 20% status chance, because you're proccing Corrosive and because you're proccing Slash and whatnot with this weapon, then I thought that it was alright to have Condition Overload on there just for the higher burst DPS, right? So Prime Pressure Point, Blood Rush for your critical chance, Berserker for your attack speed, Organ Shatter for your critical damage, then your elemental combo, Prime Fever Strike and Shocking Touch for corrosive, and then you would have one spare slot where you would either use Healing Return on a status, you would use Life Strike on a crit, or you would throw on an extra element, right? You could stack into corrosive, or you can throw on a third element, which, in this case I use Teat because it's 75% bonus from the corrosive damage on the heavy gunners, and an extra 25 because of the fire damage versus those heavy gunners as well. So yeah, that is basically that. The only other thing that I can show you is my Talons. This is the build that I use on those. Prime Pressure Point on here for the damage, Sacrificial Steel for critical chance, Berserker for my attack speed, Organ Shatter for critical damage, then my elemental combo, like I said, and I free on what's it called on here, another Toxin mod to stack up on corrosive, simply because you can't actually use Blood Rush body count on this because it's an exalted weapon, right? And there's also no ribbons. So yeah, that's the build that I settled for. I think it's pretty good, and just to demonstrate versus these unpaused, let's unpause these guys, kill them. Heavy gunner. I'll use the sword that I initially had. I prefer the sword that I initially had. It's not modded optimally. Glorified Bowie knife. There we go. So this has actually got viral damage on it. Viral, Condition Overload. So nowhere near optimal, but it's decent, and you'll see that we kill them pretty fast regardless because of how broken melee is and how fast that we're going to be attacking, right? So I'm going to not make myself invincible just to show you guys, and we're going to simulate, get our energy, use our 1 to close the gap, jump in the middle of the enemy, slow them all down with the 2, and then hopefully not get knocked over as much. And you'll see that even though that we're not, using corrosive damage, if I were using corrosive damage, these guys would die a lot faster. But they deal no damage at all to me whenever they shoot me because of adaptation, and also because they're slowed and whatnot. The only thing that I really have to worry about is those knockdowns, but whenever we do apply the slash procs to them and they get hit by that viral proc, they die insanely fast, and then whenever I want to, I take enough health damage, I can just go into Hysteria and rip them apart like this using my slide attack and whatnot, and they die extremely fast. So if you wanted to have the optimal melee builds, you would swap that viral damage out for corrosive damage versus these armored enemies. But again, I just wanted to show, even though that we weren't modding optimally, we're still killing them rather fast, right? So that's all those guys dead, and we still had a decent amount of energy. So what I would actually do, I'm a big fan of this, the Oma. Let's see if I can type this morning. Big old feels bad. The Oma with corrosive damage, pure corrosive, so no impact slash or anything like that, so nothing taken away my overall damage. Prime Pressure Point for damage, Organ Shatter for critical damage, Drifting Contact, plus Blood Rush for our critical chance, Berserker for speed, Violent Scourge for my toxin damage. Now that's because the Oma is base electric. I could throw on a electric mod on here as well and have even more damage, but because I have a Riven, which is melee damage and more attack speed, I thought I would use this instead. And then Condition Overload, because of course whenever you proc that corrosive proc, it's just going to give you bonus damage as well. You'll see that these guys die really, really fast with this Valkyr because of the insane attack speed and whatnot. So let's do the same again. Buff ourselves up, debuff the enemies, and watch these guys die. Because the Tonfa stance applies slash, then we also have another thing increasing our damage on there as well. So it more comes down to your melee build, so that's a thing too. keep on getting knocked over. That's the bad thing about testing versus these heavy gunners, man. It's just the knockover is so annoying. Let's go ahead and use a different melee, because, I mean, it's cool showing you that one and how much damage it can deal, but I don't know. Let's use the glorified bow knife again, except with corrosive, because that'll make more sense. Let me see. Violent Scourge plus Vicious Frost. Let's use primed, not heavy trauma, primed Beaver Strike plus my Shocking Touch. There we go. Cool. So, bring out our melee weapon. Get knocked over. Hit R2. Slow down the enemies. You'll see that we deal a lot more damage to these guys, just because it's corrosive damage, right? And we also proc finishers on them as well from time to time for some reason. But yeah, there's a lot of things that you have. Stop knocking me over! There's a lot of things that you have with melee, which is going to buff up your damage, and Valkyr is just kind of there to increase the overall DPS and let you survive, apart from versus the knockdowns on these guys, which is rather annoying, but you get what I mean. Just kill them with Hysteria. It's fine. Oh, okay, never mind. It's not fine. It's whatever, man. It's whatever. I'm done trying to demonstrate it. Just go away. Leave me alone. It's fine. Just use the Simulacrum kill all button. It's fine as well. Man, I just wanted to demonstrate to people how to use Valkyr. What's my dock ram? What is my dock ram? Forgive me for not... Oh, I know what it's called. There we go. This is named by someone in Twitch chat. Wasn't me, okay? Leave me alone. Wasn't me. Let's see. Violent Scourge. Yeah, that's fine. That's a fine build. Let's spawn in one heavy gunner. There we go. Keep your melee combo up. Keep your melee combo up. You're going to deal a lot of damage. Don't you dare. There we go. You'll see we apply those different effects. Do I have condition overload on this build? I can't remember. Even if it's not optimal, we still kill them really, really fast because of the increased attack speed, right? Is it condition overload? It's not a condition overload. I need the Forma again. Or would I? Well, I would drop that, throw that there, and then condition overload. Yeah, I need the Forma again. I could drop a few ranks off Shock and Touch to have a lower rank Shock and Touch. No, I don't. I would throw on... Let me do a big think emoji. There we go. And then throw on my condition overload. There we go. That's better. So you'll see a big increase in damage here. Whoop. Don't knock me over. Don't do it. Haha, bitch. So here we go. Okay. That's fine too. You'll see that this guy dies far faster. So there you go. That's how you build melee. That's how you build Valkyr. Insane frame, awesome frame. Just don't get knocked over. Go on the Hysteria if you're going to get knocked over and just shred them apart with that. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead, hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.